The short-handed Golden Knights are shut out for a fifth time this season as they fall to the Avalanche on the road 3-0. Our takeaways coming up next right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick, this Thursday edition of Locked On Golden Knights from Las Vegas, where it feels like winter and hockey season.
We got some snow down here. We got some snow.
Yeah, we got a little bit of traces of snow.
That's
they have just 4 snowplows, I think, still in the entire city. 4.
They're probably all at the airport.
Yeah, thank you so much for making us your first listen. Yes, we're going to talk some hockey here in a moment. Find us wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. We are brought to you today by Jase Medical. It's never been more important now to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com. Use the promo code Locked On to get $20 off of your order. So, Chris, so much to unpack from last night's game. Just 4 snowplows. First, the VGK was supposed to see the return of Adin Hill in net after Bruce Cassidy announced that he would get the start. Michael Amadio was scratched due to an illness. The Golden Knights went with the 11-7 defenseman alignment. Why didn't they just go with all 10 of those defensemen and go 8-10?
It's pretty good, actually. It's pretty funny. I mean, this is wacky. So I'm doing my thing. I'm streaming my sports cards and all that, and my phone just blows up with Twitter notifications and texts and
it wasn't me for once. It wasn't me.
No, it really was. I was texting you when it was all happening.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, okay, like trying to unpack all of this and see what's happening. And yeah, I mean, so reading between the lines, the team knew it wasn't a late scratch like right before the game. The team knew. Pardon me, after the pregame skate or during the pregame skate, something was not right. I don't know if Adin took the skate this morning and then tweaked something or what it was, but at least there was a little bit of prep time because all this broke at 6:30 our local time, 30 minutes before the game. And I'm watching all of this. I'm like, wait a minute here. Is there another goalie there? Is there going to be an e-bug again? Like, just it was this whole thing was just absolutely remarkable in a psychotic kind of way, watching it all come together. And I know we're previewing the second segment, but my God, so many questions about tonight's game against the Bruins. And it's gonna be a long press conference after this game because when they ask us for questions, every one of our hands.
Exactly. Jiri Patera gets the start in net. Seville brought up from the AHL level quickly. Patera gives up not a bad effort on his part, gave up a couple of power play goals and the O'Connell deflection in that game.
The Hague deflection, you mean?
Yeah, and you know what? I can't understand why Hill, after all this time, still is not ready. He's not prepared for that game. What could have happened? I'm just curious, so curious what could have gone wrong there in a day's notice.
He's got a lingering injury that's A, going to take more time, or B, going to take a surgical procedure. I mean, that's what it comes down to right now. I mean, listen, maybe there was something else that happened completely unrelated. You know, he fell and hit his head. He's concussed. I don't know. But there's a minute chance is the word I'll use that maybe it's not even associated with what his current injury is. I don't think so. I think he's got something going on, and a decision might have to be made similar along the lines of Logan last year, where they just shut him down, or possibly, the surgery side. And
oh boy,
a lot to like. I mean, there was positives last night. I mean, we're not going to crap on him this whole press conference. There, I like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good
Patera. I mean, all the goals he gave up, they were fine. I mean, They're goals that are going to happen. Defensive breakdowns against a remarkable penalty power play, call it what it is. And then obviously that third goal, Kolesar, terrible turnover, Nick Hague, terrible deflection. Bad things happen when you take a shift off, which is something that Coach Cassidy alluded to prior to the game. But sticking with Patera on this one, I put a tweet out there when the team announced Adin Hill would go a day earlier than he was supposed to. Obviously, that was not a good idea, we learned. I mean, imagine if this happened in game activity and it was even worse than whatever happened in practice. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. But point being is a whiff was made by, whether it's Cassidy or Rick Crimmon, whoever it is. Patera should have been playing more games recently. And he showed yesterday that he's deserving of more time in this Nets. And I'm not crapping on Logan Thompson by any means, but Logan Thompson has been overworked. You see it in his physical game. You see it in his mental game. Patera could have eased the pressure with 3 or 4 starts in the last, 10, 11, 12 games, which would have helped everybody as a whole. And now it looks like the Golden Knights are going to be forced into potentially doing that.
I thought another Bostonian there in Josh McDaniels was coaching this team again because they lacked emotion. That was bad. How could they be tired? I'm trying to figure this out here. You had a couple of days rest in between games, and the altitude.
Games are going to Colorado. I don't know.
The altitude, but just absolutely no emotion at parts of this season. Last year, at least they played with emotion. I'll give them that. Probably for most of the 82 games. This year, there's been some lapses there where they're not playing with that same kind of fight. And Jonathan Marchessault, in the last 2 games, has 1 shot, and that shot was blocked. Okay? I looked it up there. He has just 1 shot in 2 games. Something is amiss with this team. You can't tell me that all is what do they say? Sunshine and rainbows? Is that what
Sunshine and rainbows
in the locker room for the Vegas Golden Knights? I'd have to believe that there's something happening behind the scenes as well.
I pointed that out a while back when Braden McNabb went out of his way multiple times to say we're not going to turn on each other. Everything is fine. I mean, listen, I'm so Jekyll and Hyde. I'm so yin and yang about yesterday's game. Like the Golden Knights, they looked fast. They looked good in the neutral zone. They went pound for pound, blow for blow, if you will, from a 5-on-5 perspective against a pretty darn good team. Unfortunately, couldn't put the puck in the nets. On the flip side of that now, the Golden Knights are 3-7 in their last 10. They lost 6 road games in a row, shut out the 5th time. We can get all the negative things here. But if the Golden Knights weren't 3-7, if they were 6-4 and didn't have as many injuries and stuff, we look at this game and be like, okay, fine, this is it. It's going to happen. They got a bunch of players got sick. They had a goalie scratch at the last second. We would have already been on the second segment by now, honestly. But this is all magnified by the fact that the team has not been playing well for a long stretch now, for a very long stretch now. And I get it's the middle third. The Golden Knights turned it on. I think they said, they win 22 of their last 34 games last year or something like that they talked about, or maybe it was 22 or 20, whatever the number was. It was a gross number from the All-Star break to the end of the year. And maybe that's going to happen this year. But I sure as heck hope that the team is not banking on needing that to happen to make a run. And, I wrote about this in Vegas Hockey Now, and I talked about with Willie in the box yesterday. There's 3 scenarios that this team is on track for as the trade deadline approaches. With every loss, it goes closer to the nuclear option, which is where McCrimmon's going to take a hard look at Marchessault, at Stevenson, and Alec Martinez. He's going to look at pawns, for lack of a better term, and see what he can possibly get in a trade if this team keeps going down this path. Again, if this team keeps going down this path, there could be some very interesting things now in the next 22 games from now.
You can't spell carrier without IR. Will Carrier. Surgery, upper body, week to week now. So he's out.
Ooh, that hurts.
Is that off the rails? Yeah, that one kind of.
No, it's fine. I mean, listen, this tweet that comes out before the game, you're just sitting there wait, huh? What? Hill? Amadio? I didn't even catch Amadio was hurt. I didn't even catch, or sick, pardon me. I didn't even catch Amadio. Like I was so focused on Carrier and Adin Hill, and then Amadio was in that tweet too. Like click on more, make sure you didn't miss something there. But
there's a lot of meat in that tweet. There was.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Carrier, IR, this is the story of his career. He can't make it much more than 50, 60 games in a season. In this case, it could even be less. And, listen, not to go down another path right now, but the Golden Knights are stacking up some money on the IR and potentially LTIR right now. And trade season's upon us. Trade season is upon us, and there's going to be a lot of big names out there. So if the Golden Knights can keep things together and give McCrimmon a reason to spend some money instead of alleviate some pressure of the salary cap, everything could wind up being okay. And we could look back at this moment as, yep, it's January in Vegas. No big deal. Nothing to see here. February was awesome. Like that's in play too right now. So this is fun right now in a twisted kind of a Jack Nicholson psychotic smiling kind of way. This is fun right now.
You described our show perfectly right there. 2 Nikushkin goals there, both on the power play. Special teams have just gone really south for VGK, and the chances for the Golden Knights, few and far between. I know Howden had that miss in the game. And you think that Brisson could be called up pretty soon, because anytime Cassidy mentions, you had a great point, anytime he just even mentions someone's name from Henderson, they wind up coming up here within a couple of short days.
I mean, if Amadio can't go tonight, was that the only late forward scratch? Because no other forwards coming. So if Amadio is unable to go tonight, then obviously they're not going to go 11-7 at home. They're going to get someone. They're going to get someone.
I think they're coaching with the 11-7.
Right,
I thought it was
right. It was season 5 all over, and it was against the Avalanche too. They have to go. No, they didn't go 11 and they went what? They had to go 10-6 or something that one game against them.
Yeah.
But I did point out,
your guy didn't supply enough players. Okay, no, go ahead. It's
pretty funny. He didn't have his credit card was maxed out. I mean, you wonder, okay, someone will need to be called up, assuming Amadio can't go again tonight. Could be Ronbjerg. Could be Brisson. I mean, if it's not Brisson or Ronbjerg, like I don't know who else they would even consider bringing up from the AHL right now with Denisenko already up. And I mean, is there a world that exists where Brisson and Seville make their NHL debut tonight against the Bruins?
Would be so interesting. There's
double rookie lap with a goalie rookie lap. That could be.
There is never, ever a dull moment here, ever.
No, there's not. And
you always have contact.
I think things are going to get better. I mean, I'll say this again. There was a lot to like about last night's game. If it wasn't for the midseason lull, if it wasn't for all the things happening right now, I think we're talking about this game a little bit differently. I did put a tweet out that I do stick by, though, last night. And the reality is we're talking about the injuries and decimated lineup. Good job, boys, but it just wasn't in the cards tonight. But the reality is the special teams still suck. I mean, I don't know how to say this right now. The special teams have been very bad. Both special teams at one point were ranked relatively high. I believe they were both top 5 for a minute there. Maybe power play was closer to the top 8. But point being is now they were both ranked 16 last week when I looked. And last night's game isn't going to help the special teams at all, especially the kills. So that's the reality. I mean, when the special team, yes, William Karlsson isn't there, fine, whatever. But the special teams is still going to be, your 4 or 5 best defensive players at least. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I don't know what you're going to do to stop that first goal or the goal where McKinnon shoots and the puck just pops back to the front of the net. Like, I don't know what's going to happen there. The first power play goal, that was bad, though. I mean, you got a lost face-off in the defensive zone and then just it's passenger season, unfortunately. Everyone just watching Colorado work the perimeter, get the puck low. Like, it's when the play goes the exact same way the coach draws it up, the defense screwed up. There you go.
And these 2 teams do not meet again until April the 14th. Just this odd scheduling. Coming up next, okay, I'm going to build this as segment. How about this one? Let's build this as Swayman versus Sway Man. Cassidy was swaying last night after the game. You could tell things.
Someone commented on you rocking and on YouTube.
I do rock a lot because of Bruce. That's just. Again, that's subtle. Coming up next, VGK meets the Boston Bruins tonight, and they'll be back at home tail end of the back-to-back. We'll get into that discussion next right here on Locked On Golden Knights. We know that we come to sports to escape for some of the craziness and the realities of real life and the VGK. But can we talk just a moment about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. It's very scary out there, and we cannot imagine a more helpless feeling than if one of our loved ones got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication that they needed. Thankfully, we will all be okay thanks to Jase Medical. The Jase case, it's a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections going around like wildfire, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. And this stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter, and it will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be more prepared than today. Get prepared. Go to jasemedical.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you will get $20 off of your order. Again, that is jasemedical.com.
We send a Jase case to the Golden Knights locker room?
Definitely need that. Why is Sleeper on there? Just leave that up there because that's our next spot. It's all good. Okay. Welcome back, Locked On Golden Knights, this Thursday morning edition. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much.
I wrote down what you told me to write. What you told me to say. I think you read the wrong copy.
I'm reading. Did I? Okay. Jase Sleeper. Okay. VGK against the Bruins, T-Mobile Arena tonight. What players will be on the ice for the opening face-off in this game for the Vegas Golden Knights? My goodness. On this trip, the loss to the Avs in the shootout, and then an overtime loss to the Coyotes. And the big news out of Boston, Linus Ullmark hobbling off the ice in the overtime period in Phoenix. And now Jeremy Swayman, 11-3-6, will be in net tonight. And it's going to be a very interesting matchup tonight, to say the least. They have to bring up another goalie. I don't know if they did. Boston from Providence. Matt Patra is also out with a shoulder injury. So the Bruins are banged up as well. And Brandon Carlo, the defenseman, got hurt in that Colorado Avalanche game that I watched. And that was the game that was highlighted, or I should say low-lighted, by Pasternak on the lazy ass. Oh, my goodness. That was the worst shootout shot in the history of shootouts.
He had something up his sleeve there. He was trying to, I don't know, whatever. Bruins 9th in goals for, and they are, as far as goals against, they rank 6th overall in goals against right now. You look at the goaltending split, they're doing it the way that, honestly, the Golden Knights probably should have been doing it. I'll have no problem saying that. Swayman, 21 starts. Ullmark, 21 starts. Obviously, that might change depending on the severity of Ullmark's injury. And where have we seen that before? So looking at some of the points, some of the stats for the Bruins, Pasta 57, Marchand 37, Charlie Coyle 30 points, McAvoy 26 from the defense. So, I mean, and James Van Riemsdyk, I actually mentioned JVR should have been possibly on the radar for the Golden Knights this offseason. A little bit older veteran, but he'd chew a lot of minutes, and 25 points, 36 games. I think he's got a $2 million AAV as well for all his accolades and accomplishments in the NHL. So looking past from that, I mean, the X's and the O's and the Bruins stats and all that doesn't matter a whole lot this game. What matters is, can the Golden Knights put together an effort worthy of a victory? And I mean, who's on first? Who's in goal? What happens with the lines? Like, there's no practice. There's no pregame media. There's nothing today. So everyone's going to be completely in the dark until something maybe gets leaked out between 6 and 6:30 local time. But really, until you watch, I mean, this is the one time, like, I'll be watching with binoculars, watching the line rushes and stuff and seeing who comes out from that tunnel. And I think the biggest thing to watch throughout the day today is keep an eye on X, Twitter. I still have Twitter. Keep an eye on Twitter and see if there's any notes about call-ups or anything like that. What I would say is no news is good news. If there's no call-ups, nothing weird on X or anything today as far as the Golden Knights or Silver Knights go, assume you'll see a little more of a normalized lineup today, potentially Logan Thompson ready to come back. And then, of course, Mike Amadio. And then, obviously, the Golden Knights can go at 12 and they can go at 12-6 tonight against a very good team.
The retirement of Patrice Bergeron in Boston, that's affected this team some, but they're still in first place, right? They're fifth in power play percentage, and that's frightening. That's a frightening statistic. They have had, do you know how many line combinations VGK has had? Because Boston, I was reading an article. Okay, then that's definitely more than the 17 line combinations that they've used in Boston, which seems like a lot, but nothing compared to the Vegas Golden Knights. But it appears as though these are mirror images of each other at where they're at right now at this stage of the season.
That's a great stat. I would actually love to find out in the 40 games the Golden Knights have played, or 41, whatever the number
41
is right
now, midway point.
Yeah. How many different line combinations they've had. And I mean, I'll wager it's probably in the high 20s.
More than 17 by far.
Oh yeah, definitely more than 17. I'll give action on the high 20s. I mean, you're going to have different line combinations tonight and tomorrow. You had a different line combination than the weekend. You had a different line combination, I think, the game before that. So, I mean, and this isn't of all things we're knocking on. That's not a knock. That's just, dealing with the circumstances.
That's reality. But not an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. I think I probably put that in 3 text messages last night, and I probably put that in my article somewhere yesterday too for my recap. So, I mean, this is where Cassidy and McCrimmon have to sort through the excuses and the circumstances and get a good pulse on the Golden Knights and what type of team they truly think they are. Because right now, this is not a Stanley Cup contending team. That's not a hot take by any means. You don't need to be an expert to know that. But you do have the saving grace of how well things went in the first 15, 18, 20 games of the season when this roster was healthy. Nearly the very same roster, they won a Stanley Cup last season. And they got these nice shiny new rings that open up, and they have this hockey rink inside of it in case you've been living under a rock for a while. So the Golden Knights, if they get healthy, everything should be fine, right? But I mean, we are literally, the only reason I know this is because my birthday is tomorrow, actually, January 12th. And that was the game where Mark's
You'll get plenty of, it's going to be a WTF. That could be a whole segment.
It could be a good segment, the fact that I made it this long. But no, going back to last year, it was January 12th when Mark Stone, unfortunately, went down against the Florida Panthers and did not return until round 1 of the playoffs. So, of all the injuries and stuff, the player you fear most going down with an injury, it hasn't happened. And I won't say it hasn't happened yet, but it hasn't happened yet. And no disrespect to Mark Stone, but the last 2 years of data suggest that, if his 2 recent surgeries didn't do the trick, this is about the time his back gives him the finger and he has to take a break for a little while.
No one wants this win tonight more than Cassidy. I don't care what he says. I think
money on the board. Money on the board tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to want to get after things, and he always mentions get over the top on them. Don't allow time and space.
Get the puck behind the defense, see that? Blah, blah, blah.
Marchand the other night had this goal where he was just on the left wing, and he circles around and just nonchalantly, a little bit more chalantly than what we saw for Pasternak. He puts the puck.
You're not going to let that go. You're not going to let that go.
I can't let that go. That was the laziest shot in the history of
lazy.
Shootout.
It was deception. Come on, Tony. It was deception.
Who did he deceive? But
nobody. It didn't work.
Be an interesting game.
Like this show sometimes doesn't work.
I've never seen, though, in the history of VGK in all these years, a more power-packed tweet, though, or X, than we saw last night in the pregame with holy smokes, what? Hill's out. Oh, Amadio. Oh, Carrie is out. Like Carrie IR is out. Like that. Like it was all there, like right in front of us. Because you texted me. I was doing the women's basketball game, 25th in the nation, by the way. So I was doing the game over there at the Cox Pavilion. I see your text, and then I look at the tweet during the timeout. I'm like, holy smokes, what the heck went awry?
Same boat.
Yeah. So coming up next, we do have our locks of the night, and we'll have predictions for you coming your way next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. It is the halfway point of the season here in Vegas. Regardless of where we are at in the current standings in second here in Vegas, we want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. Sleeper is the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contest. And what players would you take this week to win 100 times your money? Fans can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and college football on Sleeper. And you can also connect with a lot of fans. Entries can be made in under 1 minute. And all you have to do is to pick whether or not a stud like Nathan McKinnon will keep his point streak going at 23 games at home, which is incredible. And there's also a lot of projections for things like goals, for assists, for saves, plus minus, and much, much more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, all you need to do is correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard us, VGK fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKDOWNNHL, and you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKDOWNNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use. Welcome back. Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, and the birthday boy soon. It's birthday boy Eve for my man, Chris Golick. And coming up tomorrow, it's WTF. What the Friday? So
no, it's not tomorrow. It's all week. It's WTF week.
It's been a week. You're right. Absolutely. So
WTW.
Don't forget, it's week to week with WTF. Is that good? Okay. And don't forget, coming up on Saturday, the YouTube only, they've got the show there, Chris and Chris. You don't want to miss that. That's Saturdays right here on our YouTube page, Locked On Golden Knights. Subscribe there. I got it all in. And so now it is that time for our locks of the night and predictions. I'll let you go first.
Great. Max Payne, 4-1 Boston. I'm not liking anything right now, unfortunately. 4-1 Boston, and I don't know, Howden was close last night, so we'll go there. And Dennis Senko had a breakaway yesterday, so why not?
That's who I picked, and you forgot. Grigori.
Oh, Denny, that's what I wrote down. Okay, I didn't forget. I couldn't read my own handwriting. So that was a Denny that I wrote down. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't read my own handwriting. I was too late. I was too lazy to send you a text.
VGK now has lost 7 of 9, and yes, they are reeling, folks. And Boston wins. I had the same score prediction that I wrote down, 4-1. I didn't have a napkin handy, but I still wrote it down. And I'm going to go with Marchessault, and I will go because he's only had that one shot in 2 games, which is real interesting. And I'm going to go with the 10th defenseman tonight, whoever the 10th defenseman might be. No, I'll go with Cormier. I'll go with Cormier there. And yeah, VGK
Cormier's
reeling.
Looking good out there. He's checking some boxes right now. I like him. I like his game. I like his mobility. Like I like him.
Yeah, it's
There's
interesting.
a bright spot right now that's watching him develop.
Well, and Cassidy will not. He won't mess around in bringing up the Brissons and taking a chance with other younger players if he's not getting that jump that he needs between periods. Last night, who was it? McNabb said that they didn't have the early jump in the game.
So, I'm curious. So McNabb, this was put out by a few people caught this. McNabb missed a large portion of the second period, came back in the third period. So was McNabb reeling from an injury, or did Cassie just park him for a little bit? I was watching the game. I didn't see anything in the second period that terribly maybe suggested a benching, but I wouldn't surprise me if, and again, it could be for multiple reasons. They might have just wanted to get Bjornfoot some action too to see what they got there. So, I mean, I'm not going to speculate too much into that, but it's worth acknowledging that there was something with McNabb that forced him to be on the bench for a little while. We did have one lock mailed in. Stone March or so 3-1 Vegas from Chris. I heard that shouted through the door. He didn't feel like coming in today. And you're on Boston tonight, Tony. I'm sorry.
Boston 4-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, this is a spot where Vegas does rise to the occasion a little bit. You look at the LA game recently. You go back to the road trip and the Canadian road trip where things kind of turned around for the better in December. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Vegas had a better effort, although I want to look this up really fast here. So go ahead, talk about something for a second. I'm going to find the odds for tonight's game.
Can I just say it's a matchup between Swayman and Sway? 1, 2, 3. Man.
We're working the gap and everything now.
Huh? I do sway a lot on the show, and that's because of Cassidy. I was goofing around, right, last season, and then I started to do it myself. I'm like, whoa, slow down. Okay.
So you got the yips, like I used to call them Logan Hill and Adin Thompson. Got it.
I promise
Boston
you I will quit swaying, folks. I know. Take your Dramamine before the show.
Boston's minus 135. VGK is plus 114 on DraftKings.
What is the total? What is the total, sir?
They're hanging a 6, and it's pretty even on both sides. Plus 100 for the under, minus 120 for the over. I mean, I would have. I haven't been betting in a while, but once I saw the news breaking, I was tempted to deposit and get some action on the over last night. I'm glad I didn't. I mean,
I thought it was going to be.
If there's a saving grace, the game went under last night. I guess that means the Golden Knights at least played some decent defense. Unfortunately, it all came in 5-on-5, and the PK, did what it did. But like, I don't know. We'll learn a lot about this team tonight and what last night's game was. What we're going to learn tonight if Colorado just kind of played down last night to VGK's level, or if the Golden Knights played a good game, if they can have a good effort tonight against Boston. And I think they possibly can. Like, I'm not completely writing out the Golden Knights tonight. This is a tough spot, but hopefully there's some improvements on the injury / health, there's media people not even traveling with the team right now. I caught in the post-game interview. So my assumption is there's a lot of sickness going through that locker room. Maybe they're going to make us wear masks tonight in the post-game. Who knows?
Yeah. This team, special teams, has not been the same since the departure of Misha Donskov. Just not been the same. Ooh. Future endeavors.
But the season started well, Tony. It started fine without him. No disrespect to Misha, but it started fine without him, and then it's changed. What changed? Can you
request an interview with John Stevens?
Nope.
No, you can't talk to assistant coaches. We appreciate everyone tuning
one voice, one message. That's the answer to that question.
Oh my
one
goodness.
Voice, one message.
Oh, brother, you can't talk to assistant coaches around here. This is too much. We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers. Tomorrow's WTF, What the Friday. Might as well just make it the entire show. Let's do at least 2 seconds.
We only need a napkin for tomorrow's show. We already got it planned out.
We could start firing right now.
Preview, WTF. And WTF is going to be 28
WTF. Show. And just keep the Jase Medical, the promo up there on the screen. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and download our podcast every day. You've been watching Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.
Worst close ever.